Let's take the time to analyze the structure of some of the sentences from the workbook chapter 22. Now, we're not focusing on translating. We only want to understand the structure of these sentences, how the verbs and the subjects work together, and how some of the other clauses and components of the sentence work together. Let's take a look. Chapter 22, number 1, here is our subject, and here's the verb. Huperton hamartion, that is a prepositional phrase, and we're going to, let's include hemon with that. And then katatas graphas is also a prepositional phrase. So we have subject, verb, prepositional phrase, prepositional phrase. The reason I focus on it in this way is I don't want you to get stuck with one section of the sentence and start to pull things in it that don't belong. In other words, if you don't understand, for example, how hamartion works, don't pull in other parts of the sentence into it. Leave this clause, leave this component, this block of the sentence, if you will, alone and move on. Because what happens with this block is unrelated in some ways, obviously it's a sentence, they belong together, to the rest of the sentence though. Katastas graphas, the words in that prepositional phrase are not grammatically related to the words in the other parts. Logically, of course, they're related because, again, they're part of the same sentence. But grammatically, they don't connect. In that you cannot pull words from one prepositional phrase and use them in another if they're stuck. And that's the entire thing I want you to avoid. Let's take a look at some more. Number 2, we have some chi. Oh, look at this. We have a chi here. I don't want to underline that. Let me change that. We have a chi. A chi, and so we have all of these chis that are in the sentence. How do they work? How do they go together? The first one, I believe, is just and to start a sentence. This is your subject. Here's your verb, and then you have another chi with a verb, and a prepositional phrase. Let's put this part together, okay? Or separate it out, however you want to look at it. Extract it from the rest of the sentence, or show that these words go together. And then you have another one. There's a verb. And within this component, there's even a smaller sentence. How do I know that? Because let's look at these verbs. Here's a verb. Here's a verb. Here's a verb. And just looking at them, you can see they're third person plural. They do something, and they do something, and they do something, and then he says something. Okay? This is a different verb, and it works within its clause, within its grouping, if you will. And notice, as an aside, I don't want to outright discourage translation, but if we recognize a word, apen is a word you'll see a lot in Greek, and it means to say, and with verbs of giving, showing, or telling, we often expect the dative case because it's the indirect object, and here it is. So, again, we're not translating this sentence, we are just seeing the groupings. Let's move on. Number 3. The verb is agenito, subject phone, ek ton uranon. There's your prepositional phrase from whatever. And notice we have a helpful hint here, a little English punctuation with a dot there. And we have the rest of the sentence. This is the verb to be. We have a nominative. We have a nominative. We have a nominative, meaning you are. And all those are related in some ways. Not translating, just understanding the structure of this sentence. Number 4, didaskale, this is your vocative, your verb. We see, I have to catch myself. It's tough to train yourself not to do that. We're not translating. We are just looking at the words. We have an accusative. We have a prepositional phrase. We have a genitive. We have what looks to be accusative. Okay. and we're going to probably relate it to that accusative. They probably go together. Who is casting out, oh, and this is another accusative. I'm going to say this daimonia is the subject of this verb. Who is casting out who? Well, casting out demons. We can make that leap for now. So this is your sentence. And this is how the words work together. Again, it's very hard to restrain yourself from translating it. But now you are set once you get these groupings and the structure of the sentence is clear. Jesus epen auto. This is your dative, so it's the indirect object. And that makes sense, again, as I said before, with verbs of giving, showing, or telling. Fine. We have this helpful grammatical point there. And then we have another phrase with another helpful point there. We have the time leges agathon. We'll put this as the verb. And this is the direct object, or it's at least in the accusative case. And this is the accusative case. They probably go together. I don't know how yet. And again, I'm not at that point where I need to worry about how they go together. But then we have nominative, 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 and the verb, form of the verb to be. So, don't know how it works yet. Doesn't matter. We understand how this structure works. Number 6, we have our verb here. This is the accusative, the direct object. And we have a infinitive to arrest, so they probably to arrest him, but that's, I don't, complementary infinitive completes the thought. I don't know how that works, but that's fine. Subject, object, infinitive. Then helpful hint there. The second part of the sentence, they knew. This is your verb. They knew what? That, something prosautos, fine. The parabolane, that's your accusative. And then apen, there's your verb. So this apen is the verb in the second part of the sentence. And he spoke, and let's go ahead and translate it. The parable, parabolane. We can almost translate that at sight. He said the parable. That's fine. If the words are immediately obvious or apparent, yeah, take them. Grab them as you can, but don't fall into that trap too much. I don't know exactly where the line is. Parable, speaking a parable is one thing, and we can have high confidence in that. But this is the structure of this sentence, number 6. Number 7, again, begins with a chi, but I think this is a different chi than, look at this one. Chi. We have 2 chis there, and not only do we have 2 chis, but we have eis pur, eis hudata. Some parallelism. And this is a prepositional phrase, 2 prepositional phrase, and often we don't have a lot of words left. This is your verb, this is the direct object. But notice notice the parallelism. That will help you a lot if you can. If you find it, if you discover it, and we have that here in this sentence. Number 8, ute oida, ute epistomai. Notice the parallelism here. There's your verb, 2 verbs, and they're parallel because they have this word here, very helpful. And then we have another clause in another section. Suti leges, verb. And break this up because it has a it has the dot there. Very helpful. Again, thank you for including this. And here's a verb. That's our structure. That's our structure. And if you're struggling with this sentence, understand how the structure works. You may be able to translate a whole section of it. And just what you're struggling with, that's all a unit. Don't let that distract you from understanding the rest of the sentence. Number 9. Our verb here. And we have another verb here. How does this work? I don't know, but we have an adverb here, an adverb here. This is your prepositional phrase. So, in some ways, it's a straightforward sentence. We have the verb, adverb, adverb, and a new verb. Very straightforward word order, actually, in some ways, surprisingly. And let's look at number 10. Long sentence here. Subject, Jesus, that's often relatively easy to find. And we have a verb and a verb. So, Jesus did this. He did this verb thing, and he did that verb thing. We have a break here. Where's the next verb? Lego. There's our next verb. Lego, and he said these two things. They're the accusatives. And it says amen. I say amen, amen. Human, there's your indirect object. And that's fine. So that's your next section. Let's break that off. We have a verb here. And a direct object. And then we have something set off here. I'm not sure. Ook, not. And another verb. And another verb. And another verb. Okay. And oh, look at this parallelism here with hoti and hoti. Ek ton arton is a phrase. So there's a lot going on here. Let's draw this out a little bit more. So Jesus, he apekrithe, he answered and said. He answered and said. Answered and said. Those are our two verbs. Answered, said. Okay. And then Lego. I say, there's our verb. I say whatever. I don't know what he said. I say to you, zetete. Okay. He said verb. I say a verb. And then we have the parallelism of hoti hoti, which means not only, but also. See, not only edete, but also ephagete, and moreover, and exhortastete, you were satisfied. So not only, let's see if I can do not only a, verb a, not only a, but also b, and c. Very complicated sentence, but I encourage you to break it down. And now it becomes a vocabulary exercise. And in some ways, you can almost, fill in the blanks in some way. And so it is this method that I encourage, this breaking it up into manageable pieces that I think is most helpful. And I hope it was helpful to go through these 10 sentences. That seemed a reasonable amount. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.